You know, you mentioned Jeff Flake. We got a little piece of sound of him, and I want to get your reaction to this. He's at
Sure.
St. Anselm College in New Hampshire, and and I think this is where they have a lot of the debates. Actually, if I remember correctly, they usually do a debate up here, primary debates, and he's talking about solar energy, and he's positioning himself as the Republican who is willing to admit that climate change is real, right? Which is laughable. But wait to the deal that he needs to strike with everybody else to concede this.
We get negatively priced electricity from California. There's so much solar being produced in California, they can't use it all. They push it to Arizona during those hours and pay our utilities to take it off the grid. That's led to all kinds of opportunities that we didn't have before that the market is helping out with, particularly as we get more utility scale storage. And we've got to also...
Pause it for 1 second. And I just want to point out and clarify that when Jeff Flake says the market, what he means is the market plus all of the government subsidies that the Republican Party has maligned for the past 10 years. But go ahead.
I think Republicans as a party need to be more accepting of reality. Climate change is real, and it is happening, and we need to respond to it. Perhaps on the other side of the aisle, there needs to be a similar recognition that we need a carbon-free baseload power. Nuclear is it. That helps us. We need to compromise on some of these issues and move forward.
Now, give me your take on this, because what I hear him saying is, I'm going to stop beating my child if you buy me a new car. Like, you know, it's like, the idea that somehow the Democratic Party has been, or the other side of the aisle has been building their bona fides on being carbon-free baseload power deniers is, I think, a bit of a stretch.
I'm not sure how to take that one. That's the assertion there is, wow, Jeff. I'm actually speechless here because he's really positioning himself to be something reasonable from the most unreasonable position possible.
Right.
You know, it's really absurd to offer this when there's an entire movement. Like, most people understand where we are. You don't get bonus points for being the Republican that will admit that climate change is real. Like, we have so much further to go than just admitting that it's real, right? We actually have to start making progress in this regard. And so this is one of those things where I laugh whenever I hear Jeff Flake speak, because he's trying to present himself as the reasonable one when he actually rode into power on the unreasonableness of Republican ideology. So, you know, he's just trying to put back up the facade that Donald Trump brought down. So I really have to digest that one more, but because it seems so absurd at face value.
Yeah. And, you know, I should just remind people, I mean, I don't have a problem with nuclear power in the abstract. I think there's a lot of reasons to be suspicious of the corporations who have designed these reactors and the way that they will cut corners. But we're also talking about huge government subsidies, which Jeff Flake, of course, will pretend don't exist. Right? Government is horrible, yet we can get these massive subsidies through nuclear. And I think, look, there's room for a rational discussion as to whether or not you do need some type of carbon-free baseload power, and if nuclear power is it, and people can argue. But the idea that there's some type of like false equivalency, it's just absurd to me. It's just absurd.
That's the part that throws me off, is that his willingness to throw out that he's the balance to this false equivalence that it's coming from their side, right?
Right, exactly.
It's clear cut. So anyone who's fooled by that, even though it's presented in this moderated tone and it sounds reasonable, I mean, I think that's the perfect example of us being lulled to sleep by the idea of equivalences.
Yeah, I don't think it's lulled. I think it's just like beaten into like a sense of exhaustion, frankly.
That too.
All right. Well,